see more and more people are joining, but I think we'll start it off. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Nalani Ramos Ruiz. I am a co-chair of the Women in Business Planning Committee. I am a senior majoring in sociology with the Latin American, Latinx, and Caribbean Studies concentration, participating in the Business Fundamentals Certificate Program. And next summer, I will be joining the Contracts Leadership Development Program at Raytheon Technologies. I am happy to introduce Dean Frieje this morning. Welcome. Margaret Frieje earned her bachelor's degree at Boston College and PhD at Brown University. She came to Holy Cross in the fall of 1986, a specialist in arithmetic geometry. Frieje has distinguished herself as a teacher, faculty member, and through her administrative contribution to the college. She was honored with the Holy Cross Distinguished Teaching Award in 1997 and was named a Woman of Distinction by the Girl Scouts in 2003. As Provost and Dean of the College, Dr. Frieje provides leadership and day-to-day management for offices of the academic, admissions, financial aid, and career development life of the college. She also serves as a member of the President's Cabinet and plays a role in setting strategic priorities for the college.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to join you and to welcome you, students, alumni, and friends, to the first virtual Women in Business Conference. Before I begin, I do want to thank Cassie Gebri, Nalani, Ramos, Ruiz, and the amazing team of women who have organized this conference for us. It's extraordinary the work they have done to be able to put on this conference for us. Now, there is no doubt that this pandemic has taken much away from us. Lives of family and friends, our ability to gather together to celebrate life's important moments, births and deaths, weddings and graduations, our ability to reach out and hug our friends, to gather for a family reunion, or to come together in a classroom. And there is also no doubt that this pandemic has shined a very bright light on many of the fractures and divisions in our society. Inequities in healthcare based on race and socioeconomic status, unequal resources in our school systems, inequities in the availability of childcare, and the disparate impact of this disruption on the careers of women. But I've found that as I move through this pandemic, there are some moments of light. The extraordinary generosity of ordinary people in responding to the needs of their neighbors. The creative ways that people have found to do their work in new ways, to continue to offer opportunities for performance, to teach and to learn, or to organize a Women in Business conference. And the ways in which creating a virtual space allows so many more people to participate. This is by far the largest group we have had for this conference. And it is good that we can be together in this way. Now, those of you who have heard David Chu speak at any time know his mantra, from any major to any career. It might not be a surprise to you that people are a bit skeptical of that claim. Students, perhaps some of your parents are skeptical of that claim. And perhaps you are wondering about that claim as well. But the claim is based on a track record and a couple of key commitments. Commitments on our part and commitments on your part. The track record is clear. We are joined today by hundreds of successful women. You can look at the career development outcomes page to see the success of recent students. The commitments perhaps need to be restated. Our commitment is that your Holy Cross education will give you the following. First, an ability to work hard, sometimes really hard. Second, an ability to synthesize complex materials from multiple sources and to find the key ideas and trends in the material. Third, an ability to write well and to speak clearly and compellingly. Fourth, an ability to be creative and imaginative as you approach the world, both to develop your understanding of the world as it is and to propel you to imagine what it might be. Fifth, an ability to ask good questions. Sometimes the questions that others have not thought of, and sometimes the questions that others are afraid to ask. And finally, a grounding in an ethical framework that prioritizes those on the margins and that compels you to work for and with others. It is our conviction that these things, an ability to work hard, communicate clearly, work with complex materials, to be creative and ask good questions, grounded in an ethical framework, are precisely what you need to be an engaged citizen and a strong member of the community. And it is also what you will need to be a successful leader, wherever you're heading: business, healthcare, education, the arts, government service. The path is not easy, and perhaps it never was, but there is no doubt that the world of work is a little more challenging now than it was when I graduated so many centuries ago, it feels like. When I graduated, many walked out the door into the career they stayed in for a lifetime. That will not likely be your experience. You will need to be creative and flexible and constantly learning as you move from one position to another. And now, what about your commitments? First, you need to show up. You need to take advantage of what is offered. So congratulations, because you showed up this morning. Second, you need to have the courage to put yourself out there, to ask questions, to reach out for help, to make creative suggestions, and to network with alumni to find out what career paths might be possible for you. Third, you need to work hard. And finally, you need to be reflective. You need to think about your own strengths and talents, to think about what gives you joy, and to try to imagine how that connects with the needs of the world. The very good news is that you have and thousands of others available on the HC network who will reach out their hands to help you. I have never, ever heard a story of an alum refusing a call from a current Holy Cross students. Use those resources. And so students, start now. You have already showed up this morning. Take the next step. Introduce yourself, make connections, ask questions. It is my great pleasure to be with you this morning. I am so looking forward to hearing from our keynote speaker, Stephanie Linnartz. And so with that, I'll turn it back to our host, Nalani, and ask you all to please enjoy your day.
Thank you so much for those welcoming remarks, Eric, for kicking us off on such a positive note, Dean Frieje. Now I'd like to introduce you all this year's keynote, Stephanie Linnartz. It has been my pleasure to work with Stephanie along with her amazing team to bring you our 15th annual Women in Business Conference. Stephanie Linnartz leads Marriott's international customer strategy focused on both core hotel operations and new business ventures that deepen customer loyalty throughout the travel journey. She is responsible for a wide range of critical business functions, including all aspects of brand management, sales, marketing, revenue management, distribution, customer experience and innovation, information technology, and digital. These responsibilities include oversight of Marriott Bonvoy, one of the largest global loyalty programs, and some of the world's most well-known hotel brands, including the Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis Hotel and Resorts, the Luxury Collection, Marriott Hotels, Sheraton W Hotels Worldwide, Courtyard, Residence Inn, Westin, Renaissance Hotels, and Le Méridien. In addition, Stephanie is responsible for developing, incubating, and running new lines of business that focus on consumer interaction with Marriott Bonvoy. Under Stephanie's leadership, the company launched a home rental offering, Home Villas by Marriott International, and has expanded its consumer offerings to include travel categories beyond hotels, such as tours and activities, dining, and transportation. In recent years, she has received numerous industry accolades. Hotel Management named her one of the 30 influential women in hospitality in 2017. She was honored by Brand Innovators as one of the 2018 top 100 women in brand marketing. In 2019, she joined Fast Company's Impact Council in its inaugural year and will soon be profiled as one of CNN's 2019 risk takers. Stephanie grew up in a hotel industry family and has spent her entire career working in hospitality. She worked at Hilton Worldwide in both operations and sales and marketing before joining Marriott International in 1997 as a financial analyst. In her 23 years at Marriott, Stephanie has worked in various roles within finance, revenue management, sales, and marketing. She has been a speaker at the World Economic Forum and is a sought-after conference panelist at global industry events. Stephanie is a graduate of the College of the Holy Cross, holds an MBA from William & Mary, and has completed additional graduate studies at the Norwegian Schools of Economics and Business Development. She's a member of the Marriott Board of Directors Committee for Excellence and the company's Diversity and Inclusion and Green Councils. Stephanie also serves on the board of directors of the Home Depot, the world's largest home improvement retailer, the board of trustees for the College of the Holy Cross, and as an advisor board member for both Fair Chance, a nonprofit focused on transforming the lives of children living in poverty in the District of Columbia, and Teach the World Foundation. Stephanie travels the world extensively, is passionate about fitness and wellness, and resides in Washington, D.C. With her husband and 2 children. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Stephanie.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much, Nalani, for that very kind introduction to speak today at the Holy Cross 15th Annual Women in Business Conference. While I certainly wish that I was there with all of you in person, I am really so happy and grateful that this conference is still taking place virtually. So I can't start today without first acknowledging what many would consider a very tumultuous and exhausting week in American politics. While most of us would have preferred to have 100% official election results by this point, there are still a few definitive results from around the country worth celebrating this election cycle. Wyoming voters elected their first woman senator. Rhode Island voters elected their first Native American woman to the state house. Missouri voters elected the state's first Black congresswoman. Miami-Dade voters elected the first woman to serve as the county's mayor. And Maryville, Tennessee elected a woman to the city council for the first time ever. It really is exciting to see progress for women in a hyper-partisan election year. And when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, we as women have not even been able to vote for all that long. Exactly 100 years ago in 1920, the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution was passed, granting women the right to vote. I certainly hope that the momentum of having serious female contenders up and down the ballot for the past several election cycles serves as an inspiration to young girls and to women everywhere. We must all remember to set our sights high and do everything that we can to make our dreams a reality, no matter how big or how small they may be. So again, what an exciting milestone for the Women in Business Conference to be celebrating its 15th annual year. It may not seem that long ago, since 2006. That was the first year the conference was held, but there have been several meaningful landmarks in women's history since that first Holy Cross conference. And here are just a few examples on that front. In 2007, Nancy Pelosi became the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives. In 2013, the US military removed a ban against women serving in combat positions, and Mary Barra became the first female CEO of a major automobile manufacturer. In 2014, Janet Yellen became the first woman to lead the Federal Reserve. In 2016, Hillary Clinton became the first woman to receive a presidential nomination for a major political party. Then in 2018, Stacey Cunningham became the first female president of the New York Stock Exchange. And Wall Street will have its first female CEO of a bank when Jane Fraser takes the helm at Citigroup this coming February. And finally, less than 2 months ago, Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first woman to lie in repose at the United States Supreme Court building. But let's get back to today. Many of you are about to embark on the beginning of your post-college career, or you have recently done so. As Margaret pointed out, it really is an unprecedented time to be a young adult navigating such a major life transition, as I'm sure that you've all heard from many people. But your generation will be stronger for the resiliency that you have already begun to develop in light of this global pandemic that we're all facing. In just a few short months, you have all adapted to learning, working, networking, socializing, and all more online and all in other unconventional ways. You have all demonstrated creativity and determination. And your Holy Cross education is a key part of why you are all more equipped to navigate this ever-changing, unpredictable, and very challenging new landscape. As a leader, I know that I have never, ever been challenged like I have this year. As I'm sure you all know and have read about, the travel and hospitality industry has been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic in ways that we have never seen. For some context, in 2019, so last year, it was a banner year for global travel, with 1.4 billion people taking trips. A year ago, my company had record performance in our hotels. We had successfully launched our new loyalty program, as Nalani pointed out, called Marriott Bonvoy. We had emerged from a multi-year integration with Starwood Hotels and Resorts, which we bought in 2016. And we entered 2020 with so much optimism and so much energy. But then in just a matter of weeks, that all came to a crashing halt. By April, once the virus had spread completely across the globe, our business was down 90% compared to the year before. And about 25%, or over 2,000 of our hotels globally, were completely closed. For just a little comparison, after September 11th, 2001, and the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, our business was down about 15% and 25% respectively. So to see our business down 90% globally was really pretty unimaginable for those of us who have worked for decades in travel. And the impact to jobs and the economy, not to speak of the terrible health side of this, has really been staggering. Approximately 200 million global travel and tourism jobs and an estimated 3.4 trillion in global GDP could be lost this year in travel as a result of this pandemic. And as is the case for many companies worldwide, this has been a devastating event for Marriott International and our employees, both financially and emotionally. In March, we made a very painful decision to furlough or temporarily lay off tens of thousands of employees globally. That lasted about 6 months. And then early this fall, we were forced to permanently reduce our workforce to adjust for the significant decline in business. And we had to say goodbye to so many longtime colleagues and friends, many of whom had been with the company for decades. It certainly has been a crushing turn of events from the momentum we started the year with. But all that being said, I remain very hopeful about the future of my company and my industry overall. First, we have seen a recovery to our business, which is now down only about 65% compared to last year. As a matter of fact, in China, which is our Marriott International's second largest market, business is only down 20% to last year. People love to travel. They are so eager to travel, to get out of their homes, to visit their loved ones, to experience new cultures and faraway places. And while some of that is not immediately possible, and I know we're all eagerly anticipating a vaccine, there really is a lot to be cherished and discovered even in our own backyards. Personally, without the intense schedule that I had before the onset of the pandemic, I was traveling at least 50% of the time. Since the pandemic, I've spent a lot more time at home. And while living in a house with my husband and I both working from home and 2 teenagers doing distance learning has certainly been chaotic at times, it has allowed me to reflect and to be grateful for each day that I wake up and I have the opportunity to lead and to help others. And again, I am so very grateful and honored to be addressing all of you today. Holy Cross was and continues to be a very important part of my life. And as I reflect upon how the Jesuit liberal arts education that I received from Holy Cross prepared me for my career and got me to where I am today, I wanted to share why I think you are all ready to reap the very same benefits that I did from this wonderful institution. So when I got to the point in my high school career, when it was time to start thinking about which colleges and universities I would apply to, my parents were vocal about their desire for me to attend a Jesuit liberal arts school. I attended high school at Georgetown Visitation, which is an all-girls Catholic school in Washington, D.C., whose mission is to empower its young women to meet the challenges of a rapidly changing and morally complex world. A Jesuit liberal arts school made sense as a next step for me, as I knew it would further lay the groundwork for me to develop foundational skills relevant to every line of work. As I learned more about Holy Cross, I was attracted to the fact that it prides itself on fostering intellectual adventure. I did not know exactly what I wanted to do after college, and I like the optionality and the support the Holy Cross afforded me in figuring that out. And of course, my parents were right. I hope my kids say that about me someday. The combination of a Jesuit and liberal arts education ended up setting me up for success. And I'll explain to you why these 2 elements of a college education, our college education, are so key. The Jesuit element of Holy Cross calls for the education of the whole person, intellectual, spiritual, and personal. As Holy Cross students, we are taught how to connect these facets of our lives to become more empathetic and respectful human beings, qualities that are absolutely critical to becoming a successful business leader. We are men and women for others. We know that we have a responsibility to others, to our communities, and to the world. We are not owed anything, but rather we are morally obligated to serve others. As my current hero, Dr. Anthony Fauci, Holy Cross alum of 1962, expressed in his commencement address to the class of 2020 just a few months ago, now is the time more than ever for us to selflessly care for one another. In a time of unprecedented geopolitical unrest and social injustice, combined with an international health crisis, the country, the world needs leaders with your talent, with your energy, your resolve, and your character. The liberal arts education part of Holy Cross provides us to exposes us to multiple disciplines and avenues of learning, and it emphasizes personal freedom and discovery. It helps us become more open-minded global citizens by offering academic breadth and depth. Holy Cross provides us with the tools we need to think deeply and introspectively about our beliefs and passions, giving everyone the chance to embark on a lifelong journey of contemplation and self-discovery. This academic underpinning was critical in guiding me through multiple decision points in my career. Because of my liberal arts education, I remained not only open-minded about the opportunities that came my way and the ones I sought out, but genuinely passionate about learning more and expanding my knowledge base. The critical thinking skills that I developed while at Holy Cross fueled my curiosity, allowed me to evaluate different choices from multiple perspectives, and helped me stay true to my morals and my beliefs. Now, let's turn to the part about why I was invited to speak to all of you today at the Women in Business Conference. Spoiler, it's because I am a woman in business. As a female business leader, I can say without a doubt that the aforementioned aspects of my Holy Cross education put me on a path towards success and prepared me to lead through a crisis like the one we're going through now. However, although I have found success and have enjoyed a long career at Marriott, it hasn't been without its challenges. And it's certainly an interesting time to be a woman in business right now. As women, we still face a myriad of obstacles in today's professional world. In 2019, the US Census data showed that for every dollar a man earned, the average woman earned 82.3 cents. Black and Hispanic women face an even greater wage gap, closer to 66 cents and 58 cents respectively, when compared to the $1 earned by a white man. And now the gender pay gap is being intensified by this pandemic. Margaret mentioned this, but the onset of this virus is erasing years of economic progress that women have made, and it's threatening to leave long-lasting damage. Some economists are calling this the first female recession, as women are losing jobs, income, and promotions directly as a result of this pandemic. The recently released Women in Workplace 2020 study, it's an annual report that's put out by the consulting firm McKinsey, claims that the coronavirus pandemic could set women back by half a decade. More women than men lost jobs at the beginning of the pandemic, and especially in industries with very high female employment, like mine, hospitality, and childcare. The unemployment rate for women is still higher than for men, and even as we have seen some signs of economic recovery. And in addition, what is arguably most alarming is that women are dropping out of the workforce at a disproportionate rate to care for children. Because as women, we tend to earn less than men overall, and also do more of the housework and childcare, it's typically the mother who is dropping out of the workforce to assume childcare responsibilities. These trends are threatening to perpetuate a vicious cycle and have lasting consequences. As women lose valuable skills and opportunities while out of the workforce, the wage gap between men and women will widen, companies will be at risk of losing future women leaders and losing years of progress towards gender equality, and recovery for the economy as a whole will be hampered. It is more important now than ever that we have young female leaders such as yourself entering the workforce and finding success. I know all of this may sound a little bit depressing, right? But it's not all doom and gloom. And I want to give you some hope. As women, we are uniquely positioned to lead and to be part of a team in this unique business environment. According to research that was done by the Harvard Business Review, women outscore men in most leadership skills, including team building, innovation, and problem solving. Research has shown that female founded and co-founded startups tend to outperform all male startups. Between January of 2015 and January of 2020 this year, the percentage of women in senior vice president positions grew from 23% to 28%. And the percentage of women in the C-suite, so reporting directly to the CEO, grew from 17% to 21%. And lastly, research shows that companies, the company profits and that share performance can be as much as 50% higher when women are well represented in the top levels of a company. So what's clear to me from all of this is that not only are women vital to the economic success of our country, we will be critical in the team building, the innovating, and the problem solving that's necessary to get us out of this current reality. I know that I can say I am personally very proud to be part of a company that views women's leadership as a business imperative to our vital success. Marriott's founders, John Willard and his wife, Alice, were true partners in every sense of that word. Alice Marriott was a force behind every major decision from the time the company was founded in 1927. When Alice joined the company's board of directors in 1953, she was only the third woman on the board of a Fortune 250 company. And she has set a standard, a very high standard for the role of women in the company that I'm lucky enough to work in for many, many decades. And Marriott International has put a great deal of effort into establishing workplace policies and practices to ensure and demonstrate our commitment to attracting, developing, and retaining female leaders. In 1999, we became the first hospitality company to establish a women's leadership development initiative. And then in 2018, we set a goal to achieve gender parity across our company leadership by 2025. So in just the past 2 years, we've made a lot of progress. 50% of our most senior teams, so again, the C-suite, people who report to the CEO, 50% of that team is women. 4 of our 11 members of the board of directors are women. And women hold some of the most significant P&L and policy-making decisions at the company. 42% of the top 850 people globally, and I mean people at vice president and above, are women. And when you look at those numbers just in the US, we're at 47%. So, getting close to 50 and 4 years ahead of schedule. And while we certainly have more work to do in making the executive leadership of our company as a whole more diverse and inclusive, I really am honored to be part of a company that really cares deeply about this issue. And I'm looking forward to additional strides that we make. So my boss, Arne Sorensen, who's Marriott's CEO, recently shared an update with all of us on the business and really his vision for next year and the years ahead. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a tough year. We've essentially rebuilt our entire organization in response to this pandemic. It's been painful, it's been difficult. But now with a new organization in place, it's time to look forward. And Arne coined a phrase that we're going to use as an organizing principle for our go forward focus. And it's, we are here to stay. The foundation of our company embodies resilience and resolve, and we'll continue to support our associates and our employees and take care of our guests so that we can make it through this storm together. But as I was reflecting upon these words and the sentiment that Arne shared with me and with our entire team at Marriott, I realized how applicable they are to this group as well. As women in business, we are here to stay. Yes, the pandemic will have lasting effect on women in the workplace. But as the stats I mentioned show, women have been an important piece of the pie when it comes to the US economy, and I have no doubt that that will continue to be the case. As young female leaders, I encourage you all to commit to being here to stay. Take up spaces in the circles you participate in. Never, ever apologize for speaking up and making your voice heard. Pledge to take risk, advocate for yourself, and go after what you want. In 2019, women made up 56% of US college students, and the share of college-educated women in the US workforce passed the share of college-educated men for the first time. So even if it may not be the reality in your current job, team, or company, know that we as women are here and our presence will only continue to grow. Take advantage of opportunities to step outside your comfort zone and really learn more about your company and yourself while you do that. In your professional circles, establish yourself as a skilled, open-minded, confident, and committed young woman who is here to stay. Once you believe in yourself, others will too. You know, a great example from my own career and role at Marriott is in terms of, I oversee a broad spectrum of different business functions. many of which I've worked in and have some expertise in, and others which I really have no background in. And one of the functions I'm responsible for at Marriott is information technology, which is an area I have really never worked in. But when I became responsible for technology, I made it a point to do my homework and to learn the complexity of the systems, the processes, and the projects involved. I asked a lot of questions of relevant stakeholders, and I asked for help when I needed it. I really leaned into the discomfort and I leaned into the ambiguity of not being an expert. And I have really just learned so much as a result. The lesson here, I believe, is dig into the big, hairy projects or assignments when you can, because that's sometimes what you need to do to grow as a leader. Doing so not only builds your business acumen, but it builds your character. You learn how to combine confidence with vulnerability and ambition with flexibility. Being uncomfortable with the unknown will always, always serve you well. As I touched on earlier, the pandemic, again, has had unimaginable impacts on my business, many businesses, and on our industry overall. Financially, I am very confident that we're going to recover. But I'm also certain that the emotional toll of this pandemic will take just as long to recover from as the emotional part as the financial part. As a company at Marriott, we've done as much as we can to take care of those serving on the front lines of this crisis. Back to April, we committed to providing $10 million worth of hotel stays for healthcare professionals, leading the fight against COVID-19 in the US in an initiative that we called Rooms for Responders. We also joined several of our hotel owners and franchise partners to launch the Community Caregiver Program to give very significantly discounted hotel rates for the first responders and healthcare professionals who wanted to book rooms at hotels near the hospitals where they were working. In addition, I am incredibly proud of the way we're helping to solve some of the very real and unexpected problems that have emerged from this pandemic. As one other example, the Red Cross saw their locations for blood drives disappear with the shutdown of cities and towns across the US. So Marriott International stepped in, and our hotels are now hosting socially distant blood drives across the United States. So again, we continue to look forward to utilizing our business in new and innovative ways to support our healthcare heroes and other people and organizations in need during these tough times. As a leader at a Fortune 500 company, I have been just so personally humbled by the truly unprecedented challenges of providing leadership in a most disheartening and difficult environment. And the long-lasting learnings from the education that I received from Holy Cross have never, ever been more important to me than they have been this year. On a personal level, the Jesuit commitment to serving others immediately focused my attention on how to best take care of our associates during this time. How we take care of those who make our company what it is has governed all aspects of how we've moved through this crisis. In all of the challenging discussions we've had as an executive leadership team, we've always tried to be hyper-focused on doing whatever we could to impact to support our impacted associates. From a personal perspective, I knew that the number one thing I could do to help our employees was, first of all, work as hard as I could to help the company that I love so much survive. But I also knew that I could try to use some of my contacts and relationships I built over the years at other companies to see if they would be willing to hire some of our team members who were out of work, at least hire them temporarily. As Nalani mentioned in the opening, I serve on the board of directors of Home Depot. And as we began to see the travel industry completely unravel in April, one of the very first calls I made was to the CEO of Home Depot to ask for help. Actually, their business was thriving. I think everybody in America was building a deck or painting their living room through this thing. So they were thriving. And I have to say, the Home Depot team was unbelievable. In just a matter of days, Home Depot created a separate website just for Marriott employees where they could search and quickly apply for jobs at the Home Depot. Again, which was doing, just demand was through the roof. And they were actually in need of additional employees because of this surge in demand coming from the pandemic. I will always remain so grateful to the team at Home Depot for their willingness to step in, help fellow Americans, in this case at Marriott, our employees in need. In addition, another example is my team, we were able to work with Deloitte Consulting. They had been contacted by the New York State Department of Labor to see if they could come up with some ways to assist them in processing the absolutely overwhelming volume of unemployment claims coming into their office. Due to the significant drop in our business, we had many, many reservation agents in our call centers in the US out of work because no one was calling to make hotel reservations. So we worked with Deloitte to quickly train our agents on the software and the processes needed to process unemployment claims, and we put our people to work in a different way. Not only were we able to save 700 jobs for our people through this innovative partnership, we also helped tens of thousands of unemployed workers in the state of New York get their much needed benefits quicker. So this was really, truly a win-win situation. So throughout this pandemic in 2020, I have certainly seen again and again that necessity is the mother of invention. And thinking creatively about how to help others, combined with the moral imperatives of the Jesuit principles taught at Holy Cross, again, has guided me, and I believe, as I'm sure has guided many of you, to be as empathetic as possible whenever you're faced with these really difficult situations and conversation. So speaking of thinking creatively about how to help others, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Fauci has really become one of my heroes throughout this entire thing. He actually lives right down the street from me. Dr. Fauci recently did a Q&A with Holy Cross students. I thought it was fabulous. Perhaps some of you saw it too. I'm sure you did. And one of the pieces of advice that really stood out to me was when he said that in all lines of work, not just science, it's absolutely critical to be transparent, to be consistent, and to be truthful. And furthermore, he implored students to never be afraid of admitting when you don't know something. We, all of us will never know all the answers, no matter how senior you become in a company or how many years you work. In a fast-paced, constantly changing business environment, we must become comfortable being uncomfortable. Yes, again, it's often uncomfortable not to know the answer to something, but you need to be willing to both ask for help when you need it, as well as make decisions using the information that you have available at the time. I think we all also need to be humble enough to ask for help when we need it, and be humble enough to revise our stance or recommendation on something once we have more information to evaluate. And the liberal arts education that Holy Cross provides encourages this type of behavior and encourages us to be lifelong learners. I will never forget Dr. Fauci's remarks. Again, he said, there's always more to learn, whether you're a scientist, artist, engineer, teacher, banker, consultant. I really just thought his remarks were so terrific. And I do believe as women, we are truly, truly uniquely positioned to rise to the occasion as leaders in the challenging circumstances that we currently find ourselves in. Research has shown that we are more likely, women than men, to exhibit empathy, demonstrate strong conflict management skills, and to have a sense of self-awareness. Generally speaking, we're less likely to let our egos get in the way of making tough decisions. With the overwhelming amount of constantly changing information out there right now, it's been absolutely critical for me as a business leader to step back and think about the impact that the decisions I'm making will have on others, my peers, my direct reports, Marriott associates more broadly, guests staying at our hotels, our owners and franchisees. Again, to name just a few, our shareholders. So I encourage all of you to never forget to take into account how your decisions impact others. And again, back to that great advice from Dr. Fauci to always ask for help and support when you need it. So I hope that today I've given you some insight into how my time at Holy Cross and the lessons it taught me have really helped me get to where I am today. I will never, ever forget when I decided to go to Holy Cross that my dad told me that Holy Cross wouldn't prepare me for my first job in life, but rather my last one. More than ever, this year, I truly understand what he meant by that. Of course, I was ready to enter the workforce after graduating Holy Cross, just as you all will be or were. But this year, I have to say so truly that I have leaned like I never have before on the values and the convictions that I developed all those years before in a way that I never had before. 2020 is a history maker in more ways than one. And I think at times it can be hard to see or think beyond what's happening right in front of us right now, as the emotional energy we're forced to expend every day, I can find exhausting. But faith, perspective, and supporting those around us can pull us out of our own personal dark holes and move us forward towards a new horizon of hope and progress. As female graduates of Holy Cross, I have no doubt that all of you are ready to tackle any adversity that comes your way. Never, ever give up on yourselves and don't be afraid to dream. As the late Toni Morrison wisely said, if there is a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. So thank you all again so much for having me here today. It's really been an honor and a privilege. And I hope you all have a great rest of your conference. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nalani and for a little bit of Q&A. So Nalani, back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. That was really inspiring, and I really appreciate your time. There's some questions in the Whova app itself, so I can go through those. Cassie Jeffrey asked, how has the pandemic changed the way Marriott does business with restrictions on travel? Has it forced you or your team to pivot in innovative ways? And how do you see business models changing?
Yeah, it certainly has. As you can imagine, a very big focus in our industry has been on making sure that from a cleanliness perspective, our hotels were always very, very clean, but to take everything to the next level in terms of cleanliness, making sure that there is using, electrostatic sprayers to spray all the public spaces, making sure that there's signage for social distancing. We've made it in our company an imperative that you must wear a mask to enter our hotels, even if it's not the law in the state. In our hotels, you have to wear a mask. Actually, Home Depot did the same thing. And we're doing a lot of testing of our associates before they come to work, temperature tests, or temperature checks, COVID tests, et cetera. So again, while our business is down a lot, there are pockets of where people are still traveling. People are still driving this summer in particular. There's a lot of drive-to vacations and people, going to places where they didn't need to get on a plane. So we've had to be quite innovative in terms of protocols, and we've worked with doctors and experts on how to make our hotels as safe as possible. And then on the innovative front, there's tons of examples there, but one of the things we're doing is people still want to hold meetings. And so we're doing hybrid meetings. So where you will have half the people in person and half the people Zooming in. And again, you'll have socially distanced coffee breaks, and you'll have grab and go food and beverage versus buffets. So we've tried to be quite innovative in terms of meetings. And so there's still, the business is coming back slowly but surely. One last point I'd mention on the innovation front is we've done a lot with technology so that you can check in and check out on your phone versus having to go to the front desk. And you can use your phone as a key versus ever having to go, talk to a human being and touch a key packet, that kind of stuff. So we've aggressively, and you can order everything on your phone. So I think if people are going to travel, we want to make it such that they can use their mobile phone to do a lot of things versus having to interact with people. So things like that to make not only our guests safe and feel safe and secure, but also equally important, our employees feel safe and secure. Or some of us are blessed to be able to work from home. But if you work at a hotel, you can't, work at a hotel from home. You can't work at a Home Depot store from home, right? So there's jobs out there that they don't have the luxury like some of us have of working from home. So how do we make sure that our associates, that's employees, associates, that we keep them safe? That's been a really important focus for us.
Great, thank you. Another question that was asked ahead of time through the Whova app was from Mars Sweeney. I often hear leaders say it's lonely at the top. Where do you look for support and how do you make difficult decisions?
Well, I look to two primary, maybe three primary places for support. I think most importantly, my faith is number one. My family, I'm blessed to have a wonderful husband and 6 siblings, and my parents are still alive, so my family are a source of support. And then my friends, not only the friends I've made at Marriott over the years, but my friends from Holy Cross. I know some of my best girlfriends from Holy Cross are on this meeting today. So hi guys, how are you? But my friends at Holy Cross that I made so many years ago and are still so near and dear to me. So faith, family, and friends is kind of how I keep myself supported during tough times. And then in terms of making difficult decisions, I just, back to my remarks in the words of Dr. Fauci, I make decisions definitively and with as much information as I have. I really try to seek out information from my team and from other sources, depending on what the decision is. And at the end of the day, as leaders, we need to make decisions and calls on things, even if we don't have perfect information. Perfect can be the enemy of good. So I've tried to make decisions by listening. And then, back to, again, the words of Dr. Fauci, if I find out that I made a decision and it was wrong because I get new information, well, I shouldn't be afraid to change that decision. So that's kind of how I think about making tough decisions.
Perfect. And then Carolyn Orbax Baker asked, as we face one of the most divisive periods in our history, how do you unite your team and promote collaboration? Has the virtual environment many of us are working in impacted your approach?
Yeah, I think these are divisive times for sure. And in terms of my team at Marriott, we make sure that there's a lot more that makes us the same and keeps us connected than makes us different. And one of the most beautiful things about travel and why I love my industry so much is when you travel the world, the country, the world in particular, and you meet other people from different cultures, and you see that everybody loves their family. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants clean water and clean air and food. And so I think travel is a great uniter of people. And so, we lean into that aspect of our business as a team at Marriott. And the virtual thing has been really tough. I love to be with people in person, and everything's been online pretty much. But we make it work and try to have a sense of humor about it at times. I shared with you in some of our pre-meetings, and I've shared with others that, I've had embarrassing moments with Bill Marriott, the founder of our company, where I'll be on a very important business Zoom call and my kids will come racing into the room or my dog will start barking. And, I just say, you know what, this is life, guys. We gotta have a bit of a sense of humor about it. And and kind of go with the flow. And I think sometimes when I share like stories like that with my team, like it's okay if, you know, your kid is screaming in the background. My daughter just burst into the room when I had a call with Bill Marriott. It lets them know like we're all human, we're all in this together. You know, we just need to make the best of it. And I'm a big believer that we'll be together in person soon once this pandemic is behind us. Not that work will probably forever be changed because of all this technology. I think there will be some long lasting changes, but we'll also be back together in person again. Hopefully the Holy Cross Women in Business Conference will be in person in 2021.
I think I'm hoping as much as you that it is.
Amen.
I think maybe our last question is getting close to 10:30. What is your definition of success?
My definition of success, it's changed over the years. I think, if to be honest, I think probably one of my definitions of success will be how my children turn out. You know, I love Marriott and I've been very proud of my career, and I'm very happy that not only have I been able to provide a good life for my family and jobs for other people, but in terms of the best thing I've ever done and what I think will be a mark of my life and whether it was successful or not is how my children turn out. Good people, honest people. So that probably in the end will be the most important thing to me.
Oh, I really love that. Do you have time for one more maybe? It's
Sure.
27.
Sure.
Perfect. As someone who has been so influential in travel and hotel business, how important do you think engagement with consumers is, especially in times like these?
You know, I think it's really important. This is when you really need to listen to your customers, particularly when you're in a consumer facing brand. So throughout this entire year, you know, since this whole pandemic broke, we've actually been engaging with our customers, particularly with people who belong to our loyalty program, Marriott Bonvoy, used to be called Marriott Rewards, and SPG. But in any event, we have focus groups with them. We talk to them, we listen to them, and all around the world. Marriott has 30 brands and we're in 144 different countries. So all around the world, we are talking to customers, listening to them. Back to the points I was making about the cleaning protocols and what would make people feel comfortable. A lot of that input we got from health experts, of course, but also listening to customers, like what would make you feel more comfortable traveling, you know? And so I think that listening to the voice of your customers is critical for any business. It's certainly been critical for ours. And it's been particularly critical during this year as we've tried to kind of continually, you know, get back to some level of normal. So I think it's critical. And I think there's all different ways you can do it. Even in the middle of a pandemic, you know, you can use Zoom calls to have customer focus groups too, right? You know, so it's been, I think it's really critical.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we're ending at a good time. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate having you and your flexibility in doing everything virtual, and to all the participants. And so we're glad to have had it in this virtual setting. And as you said, fingers crossed for next year having it in person.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nalani. And thank you to all of you for, again, for having me today. I really appreciate it.